called it the Thorn Birds meets the Da Vinci Code
Okay.
meets book club fiction. So I thought,
Yeah.
wow, okay, it's somewhat cinematic
Yeah.
because of the scenery, and
Yeah.
if you've never been to Italy, you can almost taste the food.
Hi, I'm Paul Rushworth Brown, host of Down Under Interviews History Bards in association with Meet the Author in the US. And I'm here with a wonderful author today, Joni Iraci, who's just written a fantastic book called Vatican Daughter. Welcome to the show, Joni.
Thank you for having me.
As an author, as soon as I heard that the name Vatican, it started to make me very, very nervous. I mean, what are some of the things that you had to consider when you knew that you were going to be writing about the Vatican?
Well, I had to do a lot of research. It took about 10 years.
10
I
years.
Yeah. Well, I had the title for, I go to Italy a lot. So I was actually standing in St. Peter's Square, and the muse hit, and I got the title in my head, and I thought, all right, let's see, where this goes. And I just had the title, and I jotted down some notes, and looked at the scenery, of course, and jotted down some notes, and then I let it percolate. I let
Mm,
it percolate for about quite a while. I went
mm,
back to school, got my master's in creative writing, and then I did just extensive research. I went to back to Italy in 2019, and I walked 88 miles all through Rome to
wow.
get the lay of the land, and then I came home and wrote about a year of
Okay.
research and notebooks and all kinds of rabbit holes.
Yeah. It sounds fascinating. When I did your promo ad, there was a bit of an issue with some of the photos in the promo ad that you wanted me
Right.
to edit. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I looked at it, I loved it. It was just did a brilliant job. But then I saw the picture. Well, actually, my husband saw two pictures of the real Pope, and I didn't want the implication to be that they were somehow involved because it is fiction.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good idea legally to
Yeah.
have.
Faith, power, betrayal. How far would you go to save the one you love? From the shadowed halls of the Vatican to the misty canals of Venice, Vatican Daughter is a gripping thriller of power, corruption, and a mother's relentless pursuit of justice. When her child is stolen to protect the Vatican's darkest secrets, she dares to defy the most powerful institution on earth. Immersive and suspenseful, this novel unearths scandal, intrigue, and untold truths, weaving a story of maternal courage against systemic hypocrisy.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you had a bit of a chat to Dan Brown.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us? Can you tell us about your conversation with him?
Dan Brown. I went to his house actually for dinner. I through the Authors Guild. They're a wonderful organization, and yeah, he did benefit for them, and I got invited, and it was surreal. It was fantastic, and well, I was the first one there. He answered the door with his dog, which was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
and he was very warm, and he's just come on in and chat with me and tell me what you write, and I told him about the book, and he seemed really interested.
So, okay, so it took you 10 years to do. Um, Obviously, a lot of that is time you spent in Italy or in Rome, sort of like researching through the back alleys and all that type of thing. What's
Yes.
what sort of did you use any sort of like primary sources or any databases to do research?
Oh yeah, I looked. You go down rabbit holes, as you probably know. You look up one thing, and it just led me so many different directions. I was actually looking up Italian Jewish last names for a character, and I just went off down a rabbit hole, and I found out about the real life papal kidnappings of 1859 of Jewish children.
Right.
So that was so shocking. I had no idea. It was Pius IX, and the Jews were put in a ghetto, and they were wealthy merchants, and they hired Christian servant girls to work. They were illiterate, and this one confessed that she baptized a child she thought was dying, and she confessed to the parish priest, and the Vatican swooped in and took the child. So I found this fascinating story that was true, and a professor from Brown had written a book about it. He won a Pulitzer for the book, and he was very, receptive. I emailed him, and he told me the story, and I said, well, why is this so unknown? I said, well, it's embarrassing to the Jews, and it's embarrassing to the Catholics because this happened. But yeah, it was really interesting.
Okay,
So I weave that into the story.
Amidst the swamps of Louisiana, a soldier's redemption collides with a city's fate. In the waning days of the War of 1812, Marcel Moreau, a wounded veteran of Napoleon's Grand Army, arrives in New Orleans, a city on the brink of invasion. Tasked with finding Celeste de Beaumais, a young aristocrat who has abandoned her privileged world for the sprawling plantations of Louisiana, Moreau is drawn into a tangled web of danger, betrayal, and revolution. With an English fleet looming, the city's desperate defenders, Creole farmers, American militias, and the notorious pirates of Jean Lafitte turn to Moreau's battlefield expertise. But as he prepares them for war, another battle brews in the shadows. A ruthless plantation master seeks to reclaim those who have escaped his tyranny, and Moreau must decide where his true allegiance lies. With peril in the swamps, treachery in the streets, and war at the city's doorstep, Moreau's journey will test his courage, his loyalty, and the cost of freedom itself.
So, what do you want readers to take away from Vatican Daughter?
A lot of people ask me about it, and I tell them, and they think oh, did this really happen? So no, it's fiction, mostly fiction. There's a lot of history in there, but it's plausible. I think given all the church scandals, it's plausible, and it's interesting because it's set in Italy. Places exist, but that little mask shop and the mask maker is there. But I didn't use his real name, but he is pretty famous, and he's just a wonderful guy. And it's a little place. I made him not such a nice guy, but he's really a nice guy in real life. So
does he know that he's in your novel?
He probably doesn't remember because it was about 10 years ago. I asked him. I said, I have this idea and I'm writing, and he was fine.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the protagonist?
Well, the mother, she's has no memory. She's injured when the baby is taken, so she has no memory, and she's taken to Venice, and she's sequestered in a convent. And the nuns, because she has no memory, the nuns allow her to go and work. So she works for the mask maker on the other side of Venice. And she just takes it in her stride that this is who she is, and she has no recollection. And then there's a whole scene about the Venetians. Venetians they're very suspicious, and the people, and they tell her, oh, you must have gotten hit on the head, and maybe another blow will bring it back, and all this. But she's like, I don't know, and where are you from? She doesn't know. And then a twist of fate, the memory starts flick. So that's when she just goes into a panic, and she remembers the baby, and she's determined. It's 12 years later, so she's determined to go and find her child.
Yeah, right.
So She's feisty, and as you would expect a mother to be that whose child is taken, you would do anything. She doesn't give up hope.
Yeah.
But she goes back to um, she goes back to Rome, and that's where she had lived when she was a student. So that's where she had lived with the landlady, and she goes back there, hoping she's still there, and she takes her in, and that thus begins the search.
Outback Odyssey is a compelling tale of adventure, discovery, and resilience set against the rugged backdrop of 1950s Australia. A young man from Yorkshire seizes the opportunity to emigrate under the Big Brother movement scheme and finds himself thrust into a world far removed from the life he knew. Arriving at a remote sheep station, he works alongside seasoned Aboriginal stockmen who teach him the unforgiving ways of the outback. By reading between the lines, Outback Odyssey becomes a timeless exploration of the human experience, resonating deeply with the ongoing conversation about Indigenous recognition and the pursuit of a truly inclusive national identity.
Yeah. So is there any of you in her?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like kind of tough from New York, so.
Okay, so what was the most challenging part of the book? Obviously, a lot of thrills and suspense, mystery. What was the most difficult part of the novel to write?
I think the child, trying to intuit what a child would be like who is taken and sequestered in a religious setting, and with priests and nuns who are kind of cold and not really, warm and fuzzy. And she's kind of ethereal. She spends a lot of time in the papal gardens, and she has the biblioteca of the Vatican. He's semi-retired, and he's her teacher, and he's the only kindly person that she really has encountered with so she learns a lot, and she has a lot of insight. So she's very different.
So, okay, Vatican Daughter, HBO takes it on. They're going to make a miniseries or even a film. Who's going to play the lead?
Not Tom Hanks.
No.
I don't know. I thought about that. I thought for the mother, Mila Kunis.
Okay.
I like her. And then there's this little girl. What's her name? Amelia Foucher. I think she's in Snow White now. She's 11.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. Isabella Rossellini, if she's not busy for the.
Yeah.
I don't know about the man part.
Yeah.
Maybe Jude Law. I don't know.
Tell us a little bit about your writing process.
When the muse hits, I write. I don't write every day, but I do think about it. I think about writing every day. Sometimes I'll come up with something, I'll write it.
And so, what going back to the Vatican again, what was the most challenging thing about writing about the Vatican?
Writing about that, all the research. I had to, read everything I could find about the Vatican.
Yeah.
Some interviewer who was discussing the conclave. While discussing it, she said that the Vatican is kind of catnip for Hollywood. So that's and it's kind of catnip for me. I find it intriguing because it's so secretive. You don't know what goes on. It's a country, it's a sovereign nation. So when I found out all this, they make their own laws, they make their own crime, and the Pope can't be convicted of a crime, which I, astounded.
Yeah, right.
Because he's the judge, jury, and executioner, so he can't.
Yeah, wow. What have you learned as an author?
I think everything. Well, I learned reading makes you a better writer. The more you write, the better you are at it. So, doing research and reading
And your favorite author?
I like old stuff. So I like Pushkin because it's not finished. Nothing's finished that he wrote, Russian literature, and I'm like trying to imagine what what the rest of it would be like. And of course Mark Twain.
Okay, so Joni, it's been marvelous having you on the show,
Yeah, it's
and
great.
I really, really wish you the best of luck with Vatican
Thank you
Daughter.
so much. Thank you for this. This was really great.
Yeah, and we'll keep in touch.
I hope so.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Faith, power, betrayal. How far would you go to save the one you love?